Well, look who's out here throwing Bibles at the federal building. That's right, it's us, it's Degreelessness, hosted by yours truly, the people's champion and 21st century digital boy, Shanghai Pete. Now, according to the views from the last video I did covering the whole Apple versus Epic fuckfest, no one really cares about that. And you know what? I can't blame you, I don't really care about it either. So we're not going to continue covering that incestuous little corporate orgy of internecine warfare and ad campaigns posturing as "Hey fellow kids" cringe. We're done with that. And besides, as I expected, Apple is making them look fucking ridiculous, saying shit like, Epic decided that it would rather enjoy the benefits of the App Store without paying for them. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Sounds like something I'd say, actually. You guys are all hilarious. If only it was possible for both of you to somehow lose. Anyway, after about a week or so of being thoroughly repulsed by silly absurdist claims, rumors, and mortifyingly sycophantic support for Sony and Microsoft's new money boxes, well, I can no longer hold my tongue about it, so that's right, we'll need to talk some shit. Yes, at long last, the time has come again to get deep inside the next-gen consoles, largely due to all the new rumors and claims being spewed forth by insufferable industry bootlickers. Before we begin though, let's go through a few lessons from one of my favorite books, Nuance for Dummies. I do not unilaterally hate on these new systems or anything really, just because I like to tear shit down, even though I definitely do like that. I know it may be hard to understand that being critical of something does not necessarily mean that you don't like it or can't appreciate it, but it's true. Being critical of products sold and advertised to us by monolithic corporations is not actually hating, it's being fucking smart. Forcing companies to whom you give money to be accountable should not be a divisive subject. Spinning what companies are offering you in a positive light ain't my fucking job. Sony and Microsoft have marketing teams for that. No, my job is to use edgelord cynicism in an attempt to temper expectations and bring everyone back to reality, to puncture the veil of bullshit weaved by the establishment and try to bring some measure of veracity to what they're all saying. Now, debunking outrageous posturing by obsequious industry toadies is hard work, but fortunately, the people's champion lives to slander these type of ghouls, so let's get to it. The first thing we're going to address tonight, and honestly something that I was prepared to ignore, until that is, I saw a lot of content creators with whom I usually agree regurgitating it and slobbing at Sony's corporate knob like a melting ice cream cone. We're talking about a Sony exec saying the PS5 has the best launch lineup in the entire history of PlayStation. Here's the exact quote. Once you get beyond the features of the PS5, which make it a true next-generation product, it's about the content. The content that will be in the launch window and beyond is incredibly exciting. I would say that this is the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of the PlayStation, between our worldwide studios groups and our partners from all the different publishers all around the world. We've revealed some of that content, and naturally there will be more to come. But the way that the developers can engage with this platform and create these new experiences with known IPs as well as unknown IP is incredibly exciting. Okay, now obviously I know a Sony exec talking up a Sony product is not a big deal. Of course they're gonna do that, that's not a surprise. My objection is much more to all the content creators that are not only agreeing with this, but using it as a basis for an argument as to why the PS5 will just be so great. God, could you people pop the PlayStation prick out of your mouth for even the time it takes to see how vacuous this statement is? I know that's asking a lot. Fortunately, I am ever willing to help the more intellectually challenged of my fellow YouTubers, so let's break this down really quick. It's really only the first two sentences that matter, the rest is boilerplate non-statements designed to sound generally positive without really saying anything. So, the first part is, once you get beyond the features of the PS5, which makes it a true next-generation product, it's about the content. Okay, first question. What features exactly? Can anyone name a single one that's unique to the PS5 and isn't related to graphics or how the controller vibrates? I can't, and I looked. The closest I found was a sentence or two vaguely talking up the features of common SSDs that have been available for almost a decade. So, right out of the gate, this pisses me off. The next sentence is arguably the worst of the two, and it seems to be the one YouTubers are latching onto in order to substantiate clickbait video titles. The content that will be in the launch window and beyond is incredibly exciting. I would say that this is the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of the PlayStation. Alright, first, notice the language here. Launch window. See, they're always changing the language to slowly get us to accept less and less. It's no longer a requirement that a system have games available on launch day, now they just need to be released within a launch window. Fittingly vague, don't you think? How long a time period is a window anyway? How do you define that? Is it a few days? A few weeks? Months? What exactly are we talking about here? When is all this promised content actually coming out? When will these games be available for me to play on your new system that I will have spent hundreds of dollars on? Well, it seems no one knows, and the establishment media will pretend that no one cares and that it's not a question Sony should have to answer, except that we do and they should. Once again, the industry is shifting the narrative in order to get away with offering even less to customers. How long has the term launch window been interchangeable with launch day? I don't even know. I didn't notice when it first started being substituted, but now here it is, having been normalized as just another part of the hype rhetoric surrounding new console releases, and no one even thinks to question it. Perhaps even more disturbing is the claim that this is the best launch window lineup that we've ever seen in the history of the PlayStation. And like I said, by disturbing, I don't mean that it's somehow disturbing or shocking for a Sony exec to say something like that. It's not, it's literally their job. No, what's disturbing is how many seemingly independent content creators are propping up this statement and lauding Sony as some sort of gaming messiah descended from on high to save us all with their incredible and exciting, best ever in the history of PlayStation launch window lineup. So, what exactly is going to be available on launch day for the PS5? It probably will not surprise you that I found it almost impossible to locate anything definitive. I found a bunch of titles listed for the launch window, a few specious claims about Assassin's Creed Valhalla and NBA 2K21, an IGN article about how Arcane's Deathloop was delayed till 2021, but only 2 games that were confirmed for launch day by multiple outlets: Astro's Playroom and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Wow, very transformative, much revolutionary, such paradigm shift. In fairness to Spider-Man Miles Morales, though, you do also get the full version of the first Spider-Man game playable on PS5 with that, so that is cool, legitimately. However, all that really does, though, is prove that the Miles Morales part started its life as nothing but DLC. Effectively, actually, that kind of makes it reverse DLC. They're releasing it backwards and convincing you that they're giving you something new. Brilliant, really, if not nauseating. I even heard one guy say of this game that since it's using an existing, well-liked game as its base, at worst, it's not going to suck. Fucking what? That's the bar which a game needs to clear to be considered huge for a launch lineup now? At worst, it's not going to suck? Holy shit. And people wonder why I think the entire industry is a carnival of horrors. Like I said in my AAA games are bad on purpose video, this is what happens when the narrative dictates the market and not the other way around. Companies get lazy and start doing the bare minimum, relying instead on a narrative set by themselves and industry gatekeepers to control and convince people that a single game that started as DLC and a glorified demo disc are acceptable as the best launch lineup in history. They've manufactured your consent. It's what the media is there for. Think about it. They've even convinced people to be okay with a near zero graphical upgrade. Now, if you think that's an exaggeration, look at this. PlayStation 1 to PS2. Pretty big difference, right? It's easy to point out the screenshot from the newer system. Now, let's look at PS3 to PS4. Less obvious, sure, but the shot from the newer system is still very obvious. Now, look at PS4 to PS5. Can you even tell? At all? I certainly can't. Now you might say, but Shanghai Pete, couldn't you find a better screenshot more illustrative of the power of the PS5? What, like this? Or this? Yeah, big fucking difference. And also, let me remind you that these are promo shots selected by Sony. Yeah. Now, before you throw yourselves in front of my slings and arrows in defense of Sony, I'm not saying they should somehow be able to produce better looking graphics and games than what they're currently showing for the PS5. I'm well aware of the limitation of current hardware, and I happily believe Sony when they say this is the best they can do right now. That's fine. It's understandable. My point is not that PS5 games look like shit. They don't. They look good. They look like PS4 games. which look good. My point is that if you can't tell the difference between a PS4 and a PS5 game, and all the much lauded next generation features of the PS5 have almost entirely to do with graphics and visual presentation, should they really be trying to get us to shell out for a PS5 at this point? Is a next generation console truly justified? Now, if they were showing games that look like that Unreal 5 demo, that would be a completely different conversation. But they're not. They're showing Grand Theft Auto 5. Again. They're showing Sackboy. They're showing Astro's Playroom. And to be clear, Microsoft is just as guilty of failing to make the case for the new platform as Sony is. They're just slightly less audacious about it. For now, anyway. So, what am I even getting at? What's the point? The point is that Sony's launch lineup is just as pathetic as Microsoft's. They both have utterly failed to justify the purchase of their new consoles to consumers, and anyone who says otherwise is either willfully ignorant or, for some bizarre reason, has taken it upon themselves to become some sort of ad hoc addition to the marketing team of those companies, and that's sad. Lastly tonight, let's talk a little bit about the supposed price leaks. All the usual caveats apply. This is a rumor, nothing is confirmed, blah, blah, blah. Now, the first thing you may notice is that if these are real, the People's Champion was very much totally and completely wrong. Not by a lot. I thought they'd both go for $5.99, not $4.99, but still, wrong is wrong. Part of me still thinks that they'll be $5.99 despite this supposed leak, but $4.99? I can believe that. Seems plausible. Another thing you may notice is that the PS5 Digital Edition is $3.99, while the Series S is $2.99. And if you were under the same impression I was, you'd be forgiven for thinking, oh shit, Sony's gonna get clowned at that price. I thought the same thing, $100 difference between Sony and Microsoft's all-digital consoles. Maybe the boys at Microsoft had something up their sleeve after all. Now, I don't know if maybe I'm an idiot that just hadn't read the articles covering the Series S thoroughly or what, but I had just assumed that it was the Microsoft equivalent of the PS5 Digital Edition. That is not the case. According to recent leaks, which are again unconfirmed and just rumor right now, it's actually a budget version of the Series X. How budget, you ask? Only about 75% less powerful than the Series X. Yeah, Christ on the cross. The Series S isn't even a digital or discless version of the Series X, it's a whole different console. First of all, 4 teraflops versus the X's 12, that's insane. The Xbox One was 6, not even 16 gigs of RAM. 10? 10? They're trying to get you to buy a system labeled next gen that isn't even as powerful as their last gen system. What are they thinking? Well, actually, what they're thinking is that your average idiot or soccer mom isn't going to know the difference and will be perfectly happy to just buy the cheaper version of the quote-unquote new Xbox. Now, while I may understand the presumed strategy here, the last thing I'm going to do is defend it. Slapping your next-gen branding on a console that's essentially going to perform at the same level or only incrementally better than your previous-gen hardware is kind of a scumbag move. In terms of practical application, the X pushes about 52 compute units at 1.8 GHz, while the S can barely manage 20 at 1.5. The Xbox One had 40 CUs at 1.2 GHz, and yes, technically the S is still using the new Ryzen chips and RDNA 2. Those are not insignificant hardware upgrades. But if this leak is to be believed and their performance target is 1440p at 60 versus the X with 4K at 60, what the fuck does it matter? Now, in a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with 1440p at 60. Games will look great at that res and frame rate. My problem is Microsoft trying to market a system with that performance target as next gen. It is demonstrably not. I heard one guy say this in defense of the S. Even if they won't look as good, it'll still be able to handle the next gen games, no problem. Next gen games are the same as current gen games. They even run on current gen systems. The only difference is how they look. So if they aren't going to look as good on the Series S, you might as well still be using an Xbox One. It seems hard to believe, but both Sony and Microsoft have made that abundantly clear. With few exceptions, you don't need a next gen system to run next gen games. So don't just throw your money at them because popular gatekeeping media tells you to. Make them fucking earn it. And so far, in my opinion, they haven't. Okay, that's our show for tonight. Just to reiterate, taking another page from Nuance for Dummies, I am not saying that there is not some value to be had in these new consoles or that I don't understand why some people would be excited for them. I absolutely do. They both are using some very impressive hardware, and overall, there's a lot of really dope looking games coming out in the next year or so. And if your preferred platform to play them on is going to be the Series X or the PS5, knock yourself the fuck out. It's all about what's going to make you happy in the end. What I am saying though is that from my perspective, both Sony and Microsoft have yet to justify these consoles. Maybe your perspective is different. I would hope so. Just make sure that it's really yours and not Access Media's. Okay, I'm really done now. Thanks so much for chilling and spending this little bit of your free time with us. We love you today. We love you all the way. Don't forget to smash that downvote button. Leave a comment below calling me a PC Master Race zealot. Keep the video to yourself by ensuring you never share it with anyone. And last but certainly not least, avoid subscribing at all costs because almost nobody dances sober unless they happen to be insane.